that the church, when I first came here in 1952, the sanctuary was to the right of us. It was in front of the old Sunday school building. And it was moved, I think between 1952 and 1954, it was moved to where it is now. In fact, the pastor was the actual contractor for it. He had been, before he came into the ministry, he had been a contractor. We were the first, when they moved the sanctuary over here, the pews were not even secured. We were married. And I think we were either the first or the second to get married in the church. And after it was moved, it didn't have air conditioning. And during our wedding, I remember the candles just, it was so hot. We got married on August 13th, 1954, and it was hot. But
February 1957. I was baptized in this church.
I came in the summer, June, whatever moving day was for ministers of 1984. My dad was appointed the pastor here at First United Methodist Church, Dade City. So we were married here, and then we moved to Tampa for a few years. But we always knew we were moving back to Dade City and that this would be our home church. We had 2 children when we moved back. And then Maddie was born shortly after we moved back. And right away we got involved with Logos.
So that's what we did. And we fell in love with Dade City. We visited other churches the first 6 months we were here. We did that on purpose. I came from a Presbyterian background. My husband came from a Lutheran background. And so we visited, but this church just had something that the other churches didn't. And the biggest thing was they emphasized the youth, which was our passion.
So we actually grew up attending a different church from here, but became heavily involved with Logos here. I think my mom actually helped do some of the Bible study, like small group breakout sessions. And we also had a lot of friends that came here. So actually growing up, it was really nice. It almost felt like I had 2 churches. I loved Logos. Looking back, I thought every church had Logos, and I just took it for granted.
It's been very important to my family. All of my family became Christians and became believers while in this church. They were both baptized and confirmed in the church.
Methodist roots run very deep in our family. The church was very important in our lives. My dad's identical twin brother is a Methodist minister, and he's deceased now, but even when we went on vacation, we went to Sunday school. We had perfect attendance pins, all of us. It was very vital to our parents that we are connected and be involved.
Well, I think it was a great place to have my kids influenced, and this was an opportunity to sort of set the ground level for them and their Christian growth, so that was huge. It was always a family thing. Back then, you used to get a little bar for every year that you had perfect attendance. And it was, all my siblings had these little bars, 12 years straight and whatever, so it was, you showed up every Sunday. So.
And I had the same bars, but from a different church.
The church for us is so much a part of our identity as a family. It's our friends, it's our big part of our social life, it's a support. And it's, we come here multiple times a week. We do a lot of involvement with it. So I think it's kind of the bedrock of who we are as a family.
My mother was very active in the church. And so I, as a child, would, tag along when she was working in the kitchen. And so I don't know. I guess it was just something I always I enjoyed doing it. You know, it brought me a lot of joy. So I never saw it as a sacrifice. You know, even when I worked, it was kind of a nice outlet.
Well, mine was my dad. He was doing all sorts of stuff here already. He built the podium at one point. But Jim had wanted a bigger podium. He built it and did stuff. And the cemetery, all that sort of stuff he was involved in. Very active.
Both of us grew up that our parents were active in the church, and it just is natural. You wouldn't think you wouldn't be.
Right.
Right. Someone like Alan Bunny Brock.
Yeah.
When we were all young families in the church, they were our Sunday school teachers for many years, but they would also have things at their home, and so they were definitely inspirations to us.
We sang a song on Sunday, we are the church, you are the church, I am the church. But that is the church. It's imperfect people. And it's so rare in today's society that we have a group of so many different ages, so many different backgrounds. I know people think church is a homogenous group, but it's anything but that. So they're exposed to all these different types of people, different age, different experiences in their life. But they're trying their best to live out God's teachings. And they see that, and they see that as a model, and they see that impact that they can make on them individually and in the wider community as well. I would love to give them that same sense of community, love, support, and family that I felt growing up in the church. That's a huge one, and one that this church completely provides, that we feel every Sunday and every Wednesday and every other day that we manage to be here. Eleanor loves coming to church. She asks to come to church all the time. Even if we drive past church, she's like, where are the cars? I want to go to church. So she already feels that, and she's 3.
Oh, I really want to always belong to a church that emphasizes the future, but at the same time knows the importance and the strength of the elderly in their church too. And I think this church has really found that balance with having also things for the elderly and including them in the Wednesday night dinners. And
my wish is that other families and of all ages, people of all ages, will have the same experiences that we've had over the past 30 years here with family, and a lot more than 30 for you, Annie. You're older than 30. Just that it continues, and that this church can be for lots of people what it's been for lots of people.
I'd like to see it being overflowed with people, and
just walking in, I saw some of what I want to see is the children next door playing instruments, and I always have this saying that if you want a church to feel like it's yours, clean the toilets.
The teenagers seemed to really need something, and we started what we called a Belfry program, and it was ecumenical, and that was the Episcopal Church, the Presbyterian Church, and our church. We went in together, and because we had just built our CLC building, we had the facility for it, so it was at our church. And weekly they came, and every single church had to provide so many chaperones. And the CLC was open. We had a band. They could dance if they wanted to. We had a ping pong table, a pool table. We had a table set up for games if people wanted to play checkers or any board game. And then we had our kitchen open for snacks and drinks. And they had to stay in that part of the CLC. And every church had to provide so many chaperones. And there had to be a minister and his wife there at every Belfry night. But it became so much fun for the adults that I think most ministers came every single week from all of the churches, and so did the board. They very seldom had to seek additional chaperones because the initial board and the ministers and their wives wanted to be here.
You know, being married here, growing up here, it's just a very special place. When I walk through the church doors, it just takes me back to when I was a child, and the memories that I have are just so wonderful. Like one of the stained glass windows when I was in, I think, 4th grade, and Mrs. Lee Brown Jeanette taught our Sunday school class. That's when the stained glass windows were installed. I don't know what year that was, but I got to dedicate one of the windows. They asked our Sunday school class to be able to read about, and I think mine was the one when Jesus was teaching in the temple when he left his family and they didn't know where he was. So anyway, that was very special.
God Rods was through Logos, and Logos was a really structured program. So like there was national Logos. They had one in Lakeland that we had a group going to. They would hold schools, and Carol and Jim Stout were part of the group. And Jim, you choose classes to go to, and Jim Stout chose God Rods. None of us knew what God Rods was. And what you have to do when you go to a class, you have to participate. So if you go to choir, you learn a song and you sing as a choir. So of course Jim had to learn God Rods, and you do the program at the end, and here's Jim Stout doing God Rods, and that's how we all loved it. And as soon as we came back, we started a God Rod group.
Growing up at the time, Hutchbrock used to lead bingo at Logos during dinners. And dinners then were themed. So we'd all come dressed. It would be, different nights. And the meal would be themed with the dinner. And we would play these huge rounds of bingo. And as a child, it seemed really big. Like for me, this was like the lottery, to win the bingo night. And you could win a bingo dauber, which was just a stamp to do it instead of using Smarties. And I just so coveted winning that, which I don't think I ever did. But yeah, that was a big memory for me that stands out still to this day. We felt, people say God's hands and feet in our life, especially this past year. And our family experienced a lot of hardship this past year when our son was born with cleft lip and palate. And that was a diagnosis that obviously we never dreamed of experiencing. But throughout that process, the church was with us, provided meals after every surgery. They said, let's do another meal train. People would check in on us. Certain different people in the congregation offered to babysit our kids or come help out with the dog, or different things that we had going on. People coming up to us and saying, we prayed for him in our prayer circle, or we noticed the world to us. That really lifted us up when we had some low moments, at the hospital and just throughout this year. So
if I don't come every Sunday, there's an empty spot in my heart if I don't go. I mean, the church really means a lot to me, and all the friends I made down through the years and the support I had just in this recent surgery that I had, all of the cards and thoughts and prayers it just makes me realize how fortunate I am to be in a group like this. And the people here have, down through the years, have had a major part in my spiritual growth too, which is an ongoing thing. But
my heart is in Dade City. Even though we've retired to Jacksonville, I come back frequently to see my father. And just being a part of this beautiful church that to me, I mean, I know times change, but the church never changes.
And I guess one of the memories I have is having served as the stewardship chair for over 20 years for the church. And it was during that time that through the church that I went to at Highlands and through some other people that I met, I just thought we needed to start that endowment And we did, and today it's right at $500,000. Well, the endowment program, it gives people an opportunity to make charitable gifts over and above what they give to the regular ordinary fund and the capital funds, to be invested for future ministries, well, not only future, but present and future ministries of our church. This young boy said to this older man, why are you planting this tree? You're not going to live to see it, you know. He said, because people planted trees before I came. It's money that people primarily give out of their assets when they pass away, or memorial gifts are a good way. We've received a lot of memorial gifts. But it's a way of investing in the future of the church. It's money that we take in and we invest it through the Florida Methodist Foundation. It handles our investment program. And, it's, as I say, it's to secure the future, that our church is to be here for all time. And it's part of what we call sort of a three-legged emphasis on stewardship. The main, certainly we need the ordinary income to keep the lights going and keep the church going, and then we need capital funds to maintain our church. But the endowment is there for the long term, to support the church.
It's just, you know, it's just a wonderful place. When I come back, I just feel peace. I feel like I'm at home. I just feel the love of people, especially people I've known that have watched me grow up. Unfortunately, not as many are here anymore because they've gone on to be with the Lord. But I still, you know, my dad is 99 and he's still very strong, and it's just a blessing. And Bruce has been able to preach here a couple of times, so yes, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.